Clearwater deal is strictly a commercial transaction and has nothing to do with our inshore commercial or livelihood.
Tonight, a Mi'kmaq coalition and a deal that sees them own 50% of the largest lobster harvesting company in Atlantic Canada.
He started calling us and saying, I need assistance for this, I need help with that.
A Winnipeg family and a loved one at a long-term care home in the midst of a COVID-19 outbreak.
We did seek out two of our elders that are our traditional mentors.
And Ontario changes their Marriage Act to recognize traditional weddings. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. A coalition of Mi'kmaq fishers have partnered with Vancouver-based Premium Brands. It's to buy Clearwater Seafoods, Atlantic Canada's largest wild seafood company. The billion-dollar deal was a plot twist in the ongoing lobster issue on the East Coast, and it comes after months of violence by furious non-Indigenous lobster fishers against Mi'kmaq lobster harvesters who started a moderate livelihood fishery. The mega deal was led by Chief Terry Paul of the Member 2 First Nation, who joins us now. Chief Paul, this came as a surprise to many of us. How long has the deal to buy Clearwater been in the works?
Well, when they announced it back in March, we were already dealing with Clearwater, and we were very, very interested for quite a while in maybe having the opportunity to purchase a worldwide company like this. And that opportunity came in March, where they decided to find other owners that were compatible to what their thoughts were in running a company. So we got serious about acquiring this company, but we realized really early that we needed a partner for an acquisition of this magnitude. And we spoke to a number of organizations and companies that were interested, and we settled with Premium Brands of British Columbia that there was a company that we were very impressed with, and they fit what our goals were.
Late last month, you stepped down as co-chair from the Nova Scotia Mi'kmaq, saying you were losing confidence in the direction things were going. Was this deal with Clearwater part of that?
Oh, no, none at all. Like they're two separate issues altogether. Like the Clearwater deal is strictly a commercial transaction and has nothing to do with our inshore commercial or livelihood fishery.
People will be wondering, and some have been, if this means those non-commercial fishers now work for the Mi'kmaq. Will that be the case?
I'm not sure of what you mean by that, but there is a great number of non-Indigenous people that work for Clearwater now, and they will be staying in their jobs. So, we're not going to displace anybody in the fishery.
Clearwater is a mega fishery, 6,500 traps on a boat compared to 50 Mi'kmaq traps per boat on a moderate livelihood. How are you hoping to be the largest lobster harvester in Atlantic Canada, but also be conservation-minded as Indigenous harvesters?
Well, like I said before, the offshore fishery is entirely separate from the inshore fishery. And we of course have put conservation and foremost in our minds, and that we're not going to do anything that doesn't have the science behind it.
Chief Terry Paul, we'll leave it there, but congrats and thanks for your time.
No problem at all.
To the COVID-19 pandemic now, and the entire province of Manitoba is heading into the red level on the pandemic response system. Much of the province, aside from schools and essential services, will shut down for at least the next 4 weeks starting on Thursday. Manitoba has been in the grips of a surge of COVID-19 cases, and it's some of Winnipeg's most vulnerable who are bearing the brunt of it. There are outbreaks in 23 personal care homes in the city. As Brittany Hobson shows us, one First Nations family is trying desperately to get their family member home before it gets any worse.
Lisa Muswagon last saw her father, Charles Scribe, 3.5 months ago. The 72-year-old is living at the Parkview Place in Winnipeg. The long-term care home is in the midst of a COVID-19 outbreak. Muswagon says the family is dealing with a lot of uncertainty.
We feel he's just not getting the care that he should be getting, especially the need, to meet his needs. And so if that's going on with my dad, then I'm pretty sure there's a lot of families that are concerned for their loved ones in there.
An outbreak was declared at the care home in September. At least 23 people have died. Muswagon says she's only had a couple of video chats with her dad in the meantime, but they haven't been reassuring conversations.
He started calling us and saying, I need assistance for this, I need help with that. And so we started calling the front, and then there'd be no answer. And so we started getting concerned about his level of care and if it was being met.
In the Winnipeg region, there are 38 personal care homes. 23 of them are dealing with outbreaks right now. The province and Rivera, a for-profit company who owns several care homes in the city, have come under fire recently for their handling of the outbreaks and for providing misinformation regarding an incident at the Maples long-term care home. Winnipeg Regional Health Authority CEO Vicky Kaminsky apologized to families.
We've let you down. We gave we accepted and transmitted incorrect information, and we are here to assure you that we're going to do it differently.
Over the weekend, paramedics were called to the facility to care for several patients whose health was deteriorating. 8 people died within a 48-hour time span. At the time, Rivera said staffing levels were adequate, but this was later revealed to be untrue.
This less than fulsome disclosure on their part has certainly put a strain on our relationship. I'm going to be following up with Rivera, and we will be seeking clarification as to what they knew and when they knew it, and why the information that was provided to us was less than accurate.
The health minister has since called for an investigation into what happened at the 2 care homes. The Red Cross is now assisting. But others, including Muswagon, believe the military should be called in like they were in Ontario.
As a person in the community, or as a human being for that matter, right? You're depending on this system, and it's just absolutely failing you, and it's failing your loved one, the one, and it's so frustrating. It's very frustrating.
For now, Muswagon is looking for a safe way to remove her father from the care home. Brittany Hobson, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Alberta continues to break records with positive COVID-19 cases, and it's caused some Indigenous communities to lock down. Tamara Pimentel now with the COVID update.
The province of Alberta has calculated over 600 new COVID-19 cases on Monday, November the 9th, following an all-time record of over 900 cases on Saturday. Due to an increase of positive cases on the Blood Tribe, their health department has announced school closures for this week. That's the second week in a row the Blood Tribe schools have been shut down. Positive cases continue to rise on Siksika Nation, including a case within staff at the Siksika Elders Lodge. There are nearly 8,000 active cases across Alberta. Premier Jason Kenney is once again urging residents to stop having social gatherings to slow the spread. Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Calgary.
To BC now, where the Chief Medical Officer has also announced stricter measures to combat the rise in COVID cases in that province. Tina House has more.
With COVID-19 cases averaging 500 cases a day, BC's top doctor has announced a new order that will last at least until November the 23rd, 2020.
There are to be no social gatherings of any size with anyone other than your immediate household. Funerals and weddings may proceed with your immediate household, but there are to be no associated receptions inside or outside your home or at any public or community-based venues. This is a time-limited order, but this is what we need to do now. We need to stop our social connections where we unfortunately are seeing this virus spread.
This also includes no traveling between Vancouver Coastal Health and Fraser Health for non-essential purposes, where the highest cases are being detected.
In the last 2 weeks, we've seen a dangerous increase in COVID-19 cases, particularly in the Lower Mainland. And we need to make sure that we keep essential services functioning, surgeries, schools, and others operating as safely as possible. All of this is at jeopardy if we don't continue to focus on working together, each other, taking our responsibility to bring the case numbers down.
The order also includes no gathering outdoors or play dates for kids, immediate closure of spin classes, yoga, group fitness, dance classes, and any other group indoor activity that increases the respiratory rate. Indoor contact sports where physical distancing cannot be maintained are also suspended. This includes activities like boxing, martial arts, hockey, volleyball, and basketball. For small business owners like Dylan Staines, who owns the North Shore Academy of Dancing, it's going to be a challenge.
About 50% of our school dances a minimum of 15 hours a week. That's gone now, right? And is it going to be open in 2 more weeks? Tough to say. But right now, I know that these kids they're in shock just like me.
COVID is everywhere. COVID is in the north, it's in the interior, it's on Vancouver Island. And so I don't want people to think that because the orders are focused on the areas where we've seen the largest number of cases, Fraser Health and Coastal Health, that means that the island and interior and northern health do not have to be vigilant.
There have been 18,714 cases detected in BC, with 13,425 of those people who have recovered. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
Time to step aside for a quick break. But still to come, funding has been announced to improve health care for First Nations in Joliet. Welcome back. Hot off making a 5-year commitment to improving healthcare for First Nations, the Quebec government is now promising a bigger and better Native Friendship Centre in Lanaudière by 2022. They're pushing through an additional $3.1 million in funding to make it happen. To fill service gaps following the death of Joyce Echaquan at the nearby Joliet Hospital, Lanaudière Friendship Centre, an hour northeast of Montreal, started its own clinic. It's open to the public 2 days a month. Minister Ian Lafreniere says the additional funding announced Tuesday will help the Friendship Centre modernize and broaden its offerings, including its childcare and clinic services. Institutional racism is among our topics tonight on Face to Face right after the news. Our guest is Dr. Barry Lavallee, who in 2019 resigned from his position at the University of Manitoba. Dr. Lavallee said he was frustrated with not being supported in addressing the racism Indigenous students face.
Racism comes in nice, white, smiling faces. And that level of frustration just got to me. And I decided to leave and seek work somewhere else. So I no longer teach for the University of Manitoba. I left in protest that there was nobody or no system or nothing really seriously wanting to address the normalized racism against Indigenous people in that higher institution of learning.
And you can catch a full episode here right after the news. After much public outcry, the Northwest Territories government has announced a local state of emergency in Yellowknife. The move comes as a way to bypass city council processes to set up a temporary shelter.
For frontline emergency services tackling homelessness, COVID-19 has been an immense challenge. In the capital of Yellowknife, capacity of regular shelters, like the Sobering Center, have been reduced to comply with public health measures, which left people with no daytime shelter. After much bureaucratic back and forth, a second temporary shelter has opened this week. But with colder temperatures setting in and a rise in demand, there's still more work to be done. That story coming this week on APTN National News.
Time for one more quick break, but stick around. Coming up, we'll hear from some newlyweds following changes to Ontario's Marriage Act.
The changes in the Marriage Act will allow a person to solemnize a marriage in Ontario if they belong to the band, a First Nations Métis settlement, or Inuit.
Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. And this picture of the late Private Paul Morisseau, better known as Lawrence, was sent in by Sadie Phoenix Lavoie. Morisseau of Saugeen, north of Winnipeg, enlisted in 1940 when he was just 15 years old. By the time he was 19, he was landing in Normandy on D-Day. He was honorably discharged in 1946, but soon re-enlisted and served for another year as a peacekeeper. Great photo, and a thanks to our Indigenous veterans and all of our veterans for their service. We want to learn more about the veterans in your family and invite you to send a picture to share@aptn.ca. We'll try and get your photo on our photo of the day. Now let's take a look at your Remembrance Day weather forecast. 19 in Halifax, 13 and sunny for St. John's. -4 with a rain-snow mix in Kuujjuaq, 2 below with snow in Nain. 22 with showers for Montreal, 16 and rain in Chibougamau. 16 with showers for Toronto, 8 and rain in Sault Ste. Marie. 0 with a rain-snow mix for Thunder Bay, 2 below in Sioux Lookout. -5 with snow for God's Lake, 7 below and snow in Norway House. -3 with snow for Winnipeg and Brandon. -4 in Princess Harbour. 8 below with snow for Regina and Yorkton. -12 in Saskatoon. 13 below in Buffalo Narrows. -12 in La Ronge. Over in northern Alberta, 16 below for High Level and Fort Chip. -6 with snow in Medicine Hat. 7 below with rain in Edmonton. +7 for Victoria. +6 in Vancouver. -9 in Dease Lake. 5 below for Smithers. 14 below in Old Crow. -4 for Whitehorse. 18 below in Yellowknife. -16 in Wrigley and Norman Wells. 20 below for Sax Harbor. -17 in Paulatuck. -18 in Baker Lake. 21 below for Whale Cove. -18 with snow in Resolute. 20 below in Igloolik. The province of Ontario recently made changes to their Marriage Act. It now recognizes traditional Indigenous weddings and allows members of Indigenous communities to perform the ceremonies. Jamie Pashagumscum spoke to an Indigenous wedding officiant on the changes to the Act and to some newlyweds on their big day.
Despite COVID-19, it was everything they planned. An outside venue in a traditional palisade on Anne-Marie's home community of Niashingnaming, Cape Croker. Sanford White says he and his wife come from traditional backgrounds.
The way we were raised, we felt that it would be important way for us to do the ceremony. And then we wanted to mix it with a little bit of modern style wedding.
Anne-Marie Prue White said they consulted elders on traditional Ojibwe weddings.
We did seek out two of our elders that are our traditional mentors, and we did speak about what those teachings look like through that old traditional protocols. We wanted to respect those Anishinaabe protocols.
Elaine Kiknosaway is a First Nation wedding officiant and says people still need to get a marriage license, but now community members can conduct weddings.
The changes in the Marriage Act will allow a person to solemnize a marriage in Ontario if they belong to the band, a First Nations Métis settlement, or Inuit community, but they've taken a little further and said organization. So organizations within communities can say, we identify this person.
Kiknosaway says she likes to see ceremonies reflecting the couple's personalities and not just the same old, same old. Anne-Marie says they incorporated as much of the Anishinaabe language as they could, including the word gazagin for love.
In the English language, we say I love you or I love you, but in the Anishinaabe language, it means more than just I love you. It means like I share him with the world, or I'm sharing my love with him with the world. It like means so much more than just I love you.
COVID protocols meant less people attending the wedding, but Anne-Marie says it all fell into place in the end.
The people from my community just pulled together, and my cousins, and I couldn't have done it without them. But we actually saved money instead of having the huge gathering, so that was the bonus.
The couple say if COVID restrictions permit, they will renew their vows next year with a larger gathering. Jamie Pashingamskam, APTN National News, London, Ontario.
Congrats to the newlyweds. Looks like an amazing day. We'd like to know what you think of changes to the Marriage Act to recognize traditional marriages. Here's how you can continue the conversation. You can send your emails to news@aptn.ca and leave a comment on aptnnews.ca. You can also follow APTN News on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube to share your comments. There's another way to get your Indigenous news coverage, TikTok. We've recently joined the popular video sharing platform. Take a look at our latest post.
CNN categorized a race of voters as something else during live coverage of the American election results. Indigenous people on either side of the medicine line took the label to mean them. The internet did the rest. But the reaction wasn't all satirical. Many took serious issue with the coverage, pointing out the colonial implications of the something else label, saying it erases and minimizes Indigenous people's impact on the political landscape of the United States. CNN told APTN News that the poor choice of words has since been corrected. Next time, they'll hopefully think of something else to use in their news graphics.
Pretty cool. So you can now follow us on tiktok.com/@APTN News for more. And that is all the time we have for this Tuesday. For more, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca, and don't forget to download the APTN News app. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for tuning in. Stick around. Face to Face is next. Have a great night.